Hello, this is Isaac Swindle with Technical Expression. This is the first video in a series of videos discussing the C programming language. And I'm actually going to take this back old school. In the modern day where we have 1,200 page books and we have all of these videos and tutorials with interactive scripts and interpreters and all this sort of thing, and a lot of the programming world is you kind of slap some training wheels on the side of it and give you a single line in a scripting language and tell you you're a programmer. Well, this is programming with the training wheels off. And we're going to go back to an original text. C programming language was originally designed by Dennis Ritchie. It was heavily influenced by Kernighan, and it is the root of so many languages that are in use today. The descendants of it, C++, Java, C#, JavaScript, and the syntax was inherited from this original C language, which had its own kind of ancestors. But this is a fun, well, depends on what you feel like fun is, but this is a fun look, an old school look at programming. And we're going to be using the text originally written by Kernighan and Ritchie as our guide. And each video is going to be mapped to a section in a chapter. I'm going to go section by section. I'm going to provide my own programming examples and discuss what the authors were discussing in each chapter and each section. And hopefully at the end of the series, we'll have combined kind of two ways of learning, which is the modern day approach of actually digging in a language and really having a guide and someone there to say, here's some programming examples and here's how you do it. And also the old school approach was, here's a text, here's a description of the language and how we intended to use it. Now we want you to pick it up and run with it. So I'm trying to marry the old and the new. With that said, in the book, there are a handful of things identified that I believe are still true today of what is important when learning a language and when starting with a language, any language. That is, what environment are you working in? How do you compile or interpret your language? What's required to actually get your language up and running, to turn the text high-level source code into something that will run on a system? How do you load the object code or the code that you have generated from compilation? How do you run it? And then where did the output go? Where did the output go from compilation, and where did any output go from the execution? So that's what we're going to focus on in the first two videos, and then we're going to actually just get into the book and work through the parts and pieces. So the environment I'll be working in is Windows, and I'm actually in Windows 10, and there are a couple of approaches to getting the C language started. You can go to actually the GNU GCC collection and get the compiler, build it, and there's a lot of work involved actually in getting it up and running from that going that direction. And what I mean is, if you go to GNU CC compiler here, if you get dumped here when you first starting with C programming language, gcc.gnu, there's a lot involved. It's tying up to a mirror site or tying up to Subversion and builds. There's a lot involved if you're new to all of this. So I'm not going to go this route. I'm not going to go this approach. But I'm also not going to go the Visual Studio 2015 Community Edition approach either, which I feel like makes it too easy. I really kind of want to find a middle ground between these two worlds. And what we're going to do is, if you go to www.mingw.org, we will find a package manager that we can download that will allow us to download and install the tools that we need, the compiler, linker, and that sort of thing, to actually build it from the command, build our programs from the command line, and be able to kind of see what's happening as far as when you build something, where does it go, what's the name of the output, etc. Now, once you go to this website, what you're going to need to do, or one of the ways to get the setup that I have, is to go to the download section, and you'll see here, looking for the latest version, download mingw-get-setup.exe. If you click that, it will download a package manager. So you're not actually downloading the compiler itself first, you're downloading a package manager. And when you download that package manager, it's going to look like this. Just if you accept the defaults, and it will say it wants to install a folder in your root or directory, and it'll be named MINGW, and I'll show you that in a second. And when you actually run, once it installs and once you run the program, this is what it'll actually look like. It actually is not, it's kind of confusing at first if you're not familiar with it, but it's an installation manager, something you would find similar in the Android world and also in the Linux world. But it's it's an installation manager, and what you're going to select is MINGW32 base right here. You're going to select that, and you're going to mark it for installation, and then you're going to go to installation and do apply changes. Now, I've already done it myself, but it's as simple as that to get the tools that you need. That is MINGW32 base. If you click that, you click mark for installation, and then go to installation and click apply changes. It will automatically download everything that you need and install it in that root directory that you had defined, CMINGW. What was installed, if I go to File Explorer, is this. You see a lot here. You'll see a bin folder, include folder, lib folder. These are all of the things, more than what we would probably necessarily need as we go through the text. But with these set of files, these executables, we'll have what we need to compile our C code and run it. If you go in the bin folder, you'll see a lot of EXEs, a lot of interestingly named files and executables. There is a C++ compiler in here. There's some other things in here. But what we're going to hone in and focus on is the gcc.exe executable. I want you to keep this in mind. I want you to keep this location in mind. And if you right click it and you go to properties, you'll see that the description is gcc.exe and the location right here, C MINGW bin gcc.exe. I would suggest putting that in Notepad, copying the location and then the file name, and putting that somewhere for later on, just as a little keepsake for our next video. But that is the compiler. That is the thing that we need to turn our text, our source code, into executable code. So that is our environment, and that's what we'll have. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to write your first program, how to compile it, and how to point to your first output and actually run a program. And we're going to go old school with that, and we're going to do the Hello World program. So I'm looking forward to working through the C language with you, and let's get started.